Hey friends, Tempo here. I wanted to put together this video on how I warm up when I play Valorant, and this is really when I am ready to play some comp, but as of lately I've been just having a lot of fun playing with my groups of friends and not really caring about my rank all too much. So what I'll go over today is how I warm up within the range, and then how that translates over into deathmatch, and then a swift play, and then into an actual game. And I might add in a little bit of how to clear some angles, but I think this video is really mainly on how I warm up on a usual basis. So I hope you guys enjoy. I am in the range now. I selected Sage because we'll need her wall in a little bit, but for now, going into the range, I'm going to set the practice spots on. I just use this maybe for about a minute to see where my aim is at if I haven't played in a little bit, kind of just see if I'm hitting any headshots or not, or if they're body shots, kind of how I'm adjusting. So after a minute or so of doing that, I kind of make sure my strafing also is aligned and my crosshair is as head level as it can be. And I'm gonna talk through a little bit of how to strafe, because I think this is one of the biggest things that I think my friends can benefit from versus just crouching and shooting. So let's use this line that's in the middle of the field as an example, and I just want to make this sound a little high for now just so you could hear the step. So there and there. So that means anything in between where before the step sound is how far you can kind of strafe. And that's definitely beneficial in a lot of instances, but that's also beneficial in terms of not making noise, but also beneficial in terms of knowing how far you could strafe and shoot without kind of compromising your aim, because sometimes the bullets go crazy, and that means you just aren't controlling the reset point of your gun. So of course that is, again, a little bit more of an advanced thing, but for this purpose of this video, all we'll want to do is practice going one direction, shooting, and either going back to this middle line or strafing further to that direction that you're going. So for example, I strafe, I shoot, I strafe, I shoot, I strafe, I shoot, I strafe, I shoot. So it's kind of like just two different motions. So one is the actual A or D movement, and the other movement is just clicking your left click. And the typical spray, I would say, is around 3 to 5 bullets. After that, your spray kind of goes up or somewhere else. So after 3 to 5 sprays, I would suggest to not continue spraying, because then you're just going to be even more inaccurate with where you're shooting. So step, shoot, step, shoot, step. So this is a little bit of a slower motion. I am not really moving my mouse as much because I feel like I'm familiar with where head level is. I'm really just moving A and D, and then where the actual bot is. So using the line, we can practice and then reset. We can go back, reset, go back, shoot. shoot, reset, reset. And you want to practice this in both sides, not just one side, not just left. Now you could be good at just the left side, but you're not always going to be shooting just that way. So you could do a couple on this side and then a couple on this side. And so to make that a little bit more of a challenge, or maybe a little bit easier to see in practice, this is where the sage wall comes into play. So we'll just add that to along with the middle line, and now there's something blocking you, right? So you want to use it, pretend like a wall on a site. You use it, you reset. You shoot, you reset. Go back after you do your step, couple shots, go back. Step, couple shots, back. And if you can remember where the head level is, you could also make sure your crosshair is already there, so you don't have to move it once you make that little peak of, you know, the D. D, A, D, A, D, A. Same thing with A, D, A, D. So let's put that wall back. Oh, that's a bug. So there, I know where my crosshair is placed, and I just have to make that A, D, A, D. So I'm not really moving as much because I am familiar with the head level. So you could do that for both sides again, just practicing left and then practicing right. Or if you really are a little committed, you do both left and then right. This is, I don't know how much real use case this is, but if you're feeling like the wide swings, then you could do that as well. So once you have those strafing techniques, you know, do this like every single day or every time before you're gonna play some Valorant, maybe like 10 minutes, and then go into a deathmatch. Practice the strafing in deathmatch because people are moving around. This is a little bit more realistic in terms of an actual game. And then use that in actual games, or do a swift play so it's not too long if you don't have a lot of time. And then I think just to touch upon a little bit of the crouching, I don't want to say it's bad, but it's not good. It's helpful in a way, but it's only helpful after you have already shot maybe 3 or 4 bullets. So by this I mean, whenever I watch some of my friends, or sometimes when I watch my friends, sometimes I see them just before they even shoot, they're already crouched, or they crouch at the same time that they shoot. And of course you could see in this bot, the head is a lot smaller of a target than the body. So if you crouch, your head is a bigger target when you crouch. So you don't want to crouch and then shoot. You don't want to do it at the same time. Right? Let's just say maybe your aim is not that good, or you want to account for the missed shot. Then that's when you can crouch. So like I'm kind of missing on purpose, just so you can kind of see. But it still takes a lot more shots if you still end up hitting the body. So by this I mean, this is the spray pattern, right? I'm not pulling my mouse down or anything. This is just me clicking left click. If I pull down a little bit, you know, it stays in almost a very similar spots. And I think that's one of the ways that you can control your gun, right? And another way is how a lot of people have been doing it with the crouching, is kind of just spraying and crouching. And you know, there's still that off bullet. And I feel like if you think about this spray pattern, oops, sorry, I actually pushed my mouse up. Think about this spray pattern and the different techniques. See, if you crouch first and shoot, like it doesn't make a difference. You're gonna end up just shooting the body going up to the head, which, you know, still takes a lot more bullets than if you burst in a way. So And then if you're trying to compensate for the miss of the aim, then that's when you can crouch down after you have already made a couple of shots. And I noticed this with a little bit more of the phantom sprays, where then they sprayed like they crouch down like that. If they want to kind of spray their whole clip, then that's kind of the way to do it. But again, it's after a couple of shots and not crouch and then shoot right away. So I hope that kind of showcases the difference of the spraying versus the crouch right away. And the accuracy of these bullets are a little harder now as well because of the last patch. So I hope you guys can practice a little bit more of the strafing, the burst firing. I didn't really talk too much about the burst firing, but again, it's about 3 bullets and then you stop, and then you don't just spray it all, because that's what happens. You're gonna miss the head or the body or whatever you're trying to shoot at if you just continue spraying. Cool. And the last thing that I wanted to cover real quick is just clearing angles. I wanted to make a different video on this, but I think it's helpful just to see everything in this range while I'm here. So let's just pretend this is a whole wall. There's no corner here, and there's just this corner here. The way that I see a lot of people clear corners is like a lazy way. So like, let's say they're running through here and they're like, oh, there's a corner. So same thing with like the strafing. You waste some time by like moving your mouse, right? And pressing A or D wherever you're moving. So a way to do that is kind of just like knowing again where the angle or where someone can be. And then the technique here is that slicing the pie, I think is the saying. So you just inch your way. So I feel like head level is here-ish. So I just make my way and pre-fire while I'm clearing this angle. Like that. So that way, if someone is hiding here in this corner, I'll be able to get them, versus running into this and then moving. So in practice, I will just kind of go like this and then move in. Or even do the strafe and then go back if there is someone there, right? So the strafing is super helpful in almost any case in this game when you're moving, because then you just go back to get cover if you miss them, And one thing that I do want to add, this is a little bit of a thing to remember when you're peeking closer to this or peeking further. So if you're closer to this angle, the person will see you first versus when you're back here. So if I'm peeking this like that, they're gonna see me before I see them. But if I'm peeking from here, I have a bigger area to see versus, this wall that's like hard to see the person. So just a thing to keep in mind. I think this is a little bit more of an advanced thing to remember, but if you're trying to peek a corner that is very narrow or very close, then you want to peek at a further distance so you can see them first. If you're closer and they also could have a shorty or a shotgun or something, then you're dead if you're closer. I mean, this distance isn't too far either, so I feel like even if they're here with a shotgun, they'll probably get me. But I think at least having the ability to see a little bit more on a wider angle is helpful versus peeking this at a close angle. So that's what I mean about cutting the cake and like slicing the pie, whatever the saying is, along with the strafing or kind of clearing things slowly in a way, versus this limited view of wherever you're running to. Other than that, I think that's what I wanted to cover in this video, If there's any questions, comments, concerns, definitely let me know. I think I want to create a series of helpful tips to my friends that have asked me for some tips and tricks and all that good stuff. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoy and I hope this is helpful. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.